What is best in life, Conan? Multiclassing into a druid and tearing your shirt off as you transform into a barbarian werebear, but also, just kind of being a barbarian. In this video, I'll be going over another of the 12 classes ahead of the launch of Baldur's Gate 3 come August 3rd. Today we'll be focusing on, you guessed it, the Barbarian. You can find the other classes linked in the playlist at the end of this video, and I'll be pulling information from the 5th edition Player's Handbook as well as the newly created Baldur's Gate 3 wiki. It is a community-run, ad-free project where they have easily the most comprehensive information about Baldur's Gate 3 out right now. You can find a link in the pinned comment and description to go take a look at any information you want to drill down on after the video or even during, I don't care. Outside of that, I'll show off the early access character select screen. There won't be a ton of visuals because I don't want to spoil anything from the game for myself or for you, but how we'll do this is by talking about the base kit without any subclasses, then go into the 3 subclasses we know are coming at launch. It's worth noting, of course, that subclass abilities go up to level 20 in D&D, but the cap for Baldur's Gate 3 is 12. So we'll talk about the high-end abilities kind of loosely, but we aren't really sure if or how they will be coming into the game. So I just want to be transparent about that up front. Keep in mind, you can fully respec both your character and companion for the exception of their race. So I encourage you to try out every class you're curious about when the game launches. And please, as always, play how you want, not how the internet tells you. Lastly, I am no D&D expert, not even slightly, so I apologize if I missed the mark on any of these descriptions. If you need help with any of the terms, I made a quick terms guide for you in the upper right corner that goes over stuff like advantage, ability checks, and more. You can quickly navigate to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And don't forget to swing on by my Twitch, where I will be streaming Baldur's Gate 3 on launch, linked in the description and pinned comment. But let's get started here on my Barbarian class and subclass detailed breakdown for Baldur's Gate 3. Loading into the game a halfling barbarian we have, and we can go through all the fun things that make barbarians barbarians. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually pop over to the BG3 wiki after a certain point in this base kit discussion to show you what all the progression looks like for the barbarian skills in Baldur's Gate 3 versus me talking about it from the 5th edition Player's Handbook perspective. So with Barbarian, though, we have Strength and Constitution saving throws. Remember what that means is that we're adding our proficiency bonus to Constitution saving throws, which already get our ability check plus this proficiency bonus right here. So they would get that +2, and in this case, a -1 as well. But we get light and medium armor proficiency, which isn't too important. I'll tell you why in a second. Shield proficiency, which is actually pretty cool, and then simple and martial weapon proficiency, but also an action. Rage. That is your big action here as a barbarian. Release your unbridled fury to become stronger and more robust. While raging, you deal 2 extra damage with melee and improvised weapons and when throwing objects. That includes other halflings. You also have resistance to physical damage and advantage on strength checks and saving throws. So, advantage, remember what that means too. If you don't know, you roll 2 dice and use the higher value, negated by disadvantage where you roll 2 dice and you choose the lower value. This would be for any time you do like it says on strength checks and saving throws. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Rage ends early if you haven't attacked a creature or taken damage since your last turn, and you can't cast or concentrate on spells while raging. We talked about this in my Druid's what the hell's it called video, where I said, hey, go Druid of the Moon and then choose the werebear. Well, you get werebear as a wild shape, and then you werebear into you wild shape into a werebear, and then you use your barbarian rage if you multi-class into barbarian. You can't cast spells anyway in werebear form, so you might as well then take advantage of rage, which makes you even stronger as a werebear. It's a really cool kind of thing that you can do. But you also will use rage charge. Replenishable resources, number of times you can enter a rage, and you can only enter a rage once per long rest if you're out of rage charges. Nice too that it is a bonus action, so remember that this will happen outside of your normal action. And the other thing that we get as a barbarian is unarmored defense. Your body is as resilient as any armor. While not wearing armor, you add your Constitution modifier to your armor class. Wearing heavy armor impedes your rage. The way that this worked in tabletop was, while you are not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your Constitution modifier. And it's still that way. I just wanted to make sure people know that, because if you didn't know this, that is how your armor class is factored with your dexterity modifier. This also adds your Constitution modifier into the mix. Let me just choose like human here. So then my Constitution is 10. A dwarf. There we go. So my, oh god, just a pitiful race. Oh, there we go. So my Constitution modifier is 2. My Dex modifier is 2. Those two things are added to 10 to create my armor class because I am not wearing armor. It's part of my dude. He is burly in the chest region as part of being a barbarian. That is how unarmored defense works. Well, let's switch over to the wiki to show off what the progression looks like after level 1 for the barbarian. So in the past, I've shown you the 5th edition chart, right, that says like, hey, here's how their progression works. Well, this time we can actually see what it looks like from the game's perspective with the BG3 wiki. So rage and unarmored rage defense is what we start off with, and our proficiency bonus is 2 at first level with 2 rages and +2 to rage damage, and that will stay the same until level 3. We get an extra charge of rage, and then at level 6 we get an extra charge of rage, all the way up to level 12, which we get an extra charge of rage at 5, and our rage damage will cap out at +3. But we then also get Reckless Attack, which is this ability allows the Barbarian to make attack rolls with advantage against their enemies and vice versa. And Danger Sense, which is pretty cool here if it actually ever comes up. Danger Sense is going to basically help you out anytime you, I'll tell you just from the actual 5th edition codex, you have an advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see, such as traps and spells. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded or deafened or incapacitated. We choose a subclass, ability score improvement, but then we get extra attack, which we know from plenty of the other fighting classes we talked about. It's a passive feature that allows them to attack more than once when using their action to make an unarmed or weapon attack. Meaning if I use attack action, then I swing twice with my weapon. Fast movement, which is nice here. I don't think it's going to pop up here, but fast movement is really cool because basically at level 5, your speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. So you basically get to move a little bit faster with this class. Feral Instinct is interesting too. Basically, Feral Instinct, the way it's going to work for you is that anytime you are surprised at the beginning of combat, you don't act surprised as long as you enrage before the end of your turn. Then you'll get Brutal Critical. Brutal Critical is and the reason you can't see a pop-up here is because we are limited to the 5th level in the early access, so we actually don't know what this looks like in the game. But Brutal Critical is nice because basically when you get an additional, so you can roll 1 additional weapon damage die when determining the extra damage for a critical hit with a melee attack. Remember, rolling a 20 is a critical hit, and it's going to allow you to add some damage. This is why a really good way to do Barbarian, a really good multi-class for them is the champion for fighter, because the fighter champion allows you to critical hit on a 19 and a 20 versus just a 20. And with Brutal Critical from Barbarian, you're actually pulling in even more damage because you have a higher likelihood of hitting a critical, and you get Action Surge, so you can even do more actions in a turn. It's just disgustingly strong. Then our last thing here we get is Relentless Rage. So your rage can keep you fighting despite grievous wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points while you're raging and don't die outright, you can make a difficulty 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, you drop to 1 hit point instead. Each time you use this feature after the first, the difficulty increases by 5. When you finish a short or long rest, it resets. So this basically keeps you in the fight for a long time as you just kind of rip and tear your way to victory. For our first subclass, we have the Path of the Berserker. And this just basically makes you more of a barbarian. And they don't really have a whole ton of like crazy abilities. You get Frenzy, Frenzied Strike, Enraged Throw, Mindless Rage, Intimidating Presence. And that's like it. Because again, you're just being more of what you already are as a barbarian. So Frenzy, as it pertains to this game, is a Berserker Barbarian bonus action. This ability turns the Berserker's anger into an uncontrollable fury and grants additional abilities. Frenzy is what unlocks stuff like Frenzied Strike and Enraged Throw. So that's the way it works here in Baldur's Gate 3. So Frenzied Strike basically allows you to make a melee attack as a bonus action for Berserker, which is really, really cool. And then you get Enraged Throw, which enables you to make a ranged attack using nearby items or creatures. So you can just go ahead and chuck that halfling I was talking about, or chuck a gnome at someone, assuming you pass any kind of test as needed. But that's how Frenzy works as it pertains to, again, Rage and being a Barbarian, because it's just making you more of a Barbarian. Then Mindless Rage kicks in here at the 6th level for the Path of the Berserker. You can't be charmed or frightened while raging, and if you are charmed or frightened when you enter your rage, the effect is suspended for the duration of the rage, which is kind of a cool way to kind of more or less break out of it. And then 10th level, we get the ability to give Intimidating Presence, where things need to make a wisdom saving throw against you, or they become frightened until the end of your next turn, which is pretty cool. So you can pretty much just scare the crap out of everyone around you if they are particularly unwise, weak in the ways of wisdom. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Level 14, you do get Retaliation. That allows you to make a reaction melee attack, and I could see that actually coming into the game at level 12 if they wanted to put it in, but I'm not sure if they would bring it in for the Path of the Berserker just yet. But that is your Path of the Berserker. You're just becoming more of a Barbarian. Moving back to the BG3 wiki, this is definitely worth showing you because it's way different in the 5th edition handbook. So Wildheart is our next path to talk about. This is called the Path of the Totem Warrior in the 5th edition book. So you basically will choose a bestial heart once you get level 3. And you also get the ability to speak with animals. Well, that's kind of cool, right? Speak with animals. I mean, we've seen how strong that actually is in Divinity Original Sin, right? So maybe bestial speak with animals is going to be quite strong here in Baldur's Gate 3. I would expect it to be. So you choose one of these hearts, and these hearts give you abilities when you rage. Also some other stuff outside of it. Also too, you get different appearance options when you do that, like different piercings to kind of match what you're going with. But take a look here at Bear Heart. So while raging, you can use Unrelenting Ferocity and have resistance to all damage except psychic damage, sorry. This is something that we saw directly ripped out of the 5th edition book. And here you can see Bear Heart, Bear-like Anger to gain resistance against all types of damage except psychic and deal extra melee damage to enemies. But here's what Unrelenting Ferocity does. The Bear Heart, this ability allows them to heal themselves while raging, which is really cool. Eagle Heart is going to give you Diving Strike, and foes also have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you, and it can use dash as a bonus action. You can use dash as a bonus action, which is very good. Diving Strike here, this ability allows them to use their eagle-like anger to attack enemies from the sky. Oof. Elkhart, while raging, you can use Primal Stampede, and your movement speed increases by 4.5 meters / 15 feet. You couple this with your already increased movement speed as being a barbarian, that's quite nice. Primal Stampede here, basically a charge. This ability allows them to use their elk-like anger to rush enemies and knock them prone. Tiger Heart, while raging, you can use your Tiger's Bloodlust, and you jump, and your jump distance increases by 4.5 meters or 15 feet, and you become named Charlie Sheen. Tiger's Bloodlust is this ability allows them to use their tiger-like anger to attack multiple enemies and inflict bleeding wounds. So you basically get a bleeding cleave attack. And then Wolfheart, you can use Inciting Howl, and your allies have advantage on melee attack rolls against enemies when they are within 5 feet or 2 meters of you, which is really, really cool. And Inciting Howl will help out with that as well. This ability allows them to use their wolf-like anger to increase their allies' movement speed. So Wolfheart is definitely way more of a support one, right? Bear Heart helps you be a little bit more tanky. Eagle is going to give you a lot more moving capabilities. But you know what? So will Elkhart, because this gave you dash as a bonus. This allows you to move further, and Primal Stampede is going to be really great in helping you displace. Tiger's Heart's going to give you that jump capability, and Tiger's Bloodlust, which is going to help you do some cleaving attack, do a little bit more AoE effect. So it just depends on how you want to approach your Primal Heart. Now you can swap those out at 4 and 5, so every level you can swap out your Primal Heart if you want to, and just choose a different one. But then you get Spirit Walker at level 10, allows you to commune with nature spell, but only as a ritual, and I'm not sure how we would be doing that. So I'm not sure how they're going to make that make its way into the tabletop, or I'm sorry, into Baldur's Gate 3. So what's interesting too is you have a Totem Spirit at level 3 in the tabletop, and you get Totemic Attunement, which would give you the additional benefit here. So Totemic Attunement is what would give you this. So they've combined the two. So that was a level 14 thing in tabletop. It is now just put together. If you choose Eagle Heart, you just get it all. So if you're coming from 5th edition, it's nice to know that as a totem warrior, you just get all the things that you would get. You're not going to miss out on anything that you would have otherwise gotten at level 14. It's why I say I think a lot of the level 14 stuff will probably just come into the subclasses. So our last subclass to talk about is the Wild Magic subclass. And this can be pretty sick if you were to, say, multi-class into a sorcerer that does wild magic, because then you'd just be rolling on a ton of different tables. So whenever you go into a rage, you now have a wild surge, and you roll on a wild surge chart. This is different than the wild magic chart for the sorcerer. For example, one of them says you teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Until your rage ends, you can use this effect again on each of your turns as a bonus action. It's pretty sick. You can have magic infuse your weapon. You have a whole bunch of different things. Or flowers and vines temporarily grow around you until your rage ends. The ground around within 15 feet of you is difficult terrain for your enemies. It's pretty awesome. But you can also kind of detect magic, as it were. And you have this magic awareness ability that allows you to know the location of any spell or magic item within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover. And when you sense a spell, you can learn the school of magic it belongs to, which is kind of a cool ability. And you also have bolstering magic. So eventually, at level 6, you take these wild magic capabilities and you can actually kind of harness them to buff up your companions. So as an action, you can touch one creature, which can be yourself, and confer one of the following benefits of your choice to that creature. For 10 minutes, the creature can roll a D3 whenever making an attack roll or an ability check, and add the number rolled to the D20 roll. Roll a D3. The creature regains one expended spell slot, the level of which equals the number rolled or lower. Once a creature receives this benefit, that creature can't receive it again until after a long rest. And you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. By the time you get it, I believe that should be a 3. So what is sick about this is you basically turn your frothing at the mouth barbarian that goes into a rage, gets surged up with wild magic and just turns his weapon into whatever, or goes and like leaps and teleports around. You basically turn them into a battery where you can go and help them with ability check. You touch a buddy, help with an ability check or an attack roll, or you help replenish their spell slots. Or you just do it to yourself. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with a wild magic barbarian. Unstable Backlash kicks in at level 10. The magic within you can lash out. Immediately after you take damage or fail a saving throw while raging, you can use your reaction to roll on the wild magic table and immediately produce the effect rolled. So sometimes this can actually help you out. Sometimes it can actually be detrimental. It's up to you. Then at 14, you get Controlled Surge. Whenever you roll on the wild magic table, you can roll the dice twice and choose which of the 2 effects to unleash. So I'm not sure if we would get that in the class. Like I've said before, I think that the other 2 14 capabilities for the other 2 subclasses make sense just to kind of put into the class. So I think Controlled Surge could make a lot of sense too for that top end of being a wild magic barbarian in Baldur's Gate 3, helping it to be a little bit more fun while also still random, right? So that is your Wild Magic Barbarian class. And at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully this helped you out in determining which of the 3 Barbarian subclasses, or even Barbarian in general, if you want to play it. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see a video that kind of covers maybe Fighter, Barbarian, Paladin, which one should you choose? Or Barbarian, Fighter, and Rogue, which one should you choose? I think that one, those 3 are kind of a little bit more clear cut. But maybe you're struggling on which one of the melee classes, or quote unquote pure melee classes, you really want to focus on, even though Paladin's not really pure, right? Whatever it is, go ahead and let me know. I'm always down for those kind of videos. I know Fextra Life has put out quite a few of those, and I'm happy to kind of follow in those footsteps if you guys want a different opinion on that subject. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.